Good evening, everyone. My name is Robert T. Green. I'm the CEO of Pre-Post Game. I'm also known as the players repair to educate, empower, protect the athlete, and best interests alone. Welcome to the Pre-Post Game podcast, sponsored by the African American Athlete, hosted by Mr. Ricky Hampton and Michael Robinson. Today is Wednesday, June the 27th. Thank you for joining us at 6 p.m. every Wednesday at the African American Athlete Facebook Live page, where we discuss sports business pertaining to the athletes and families' best interests alone. As you see behind me, we're talking about mental health today and how all these things tie in. So again, I want to take a break from the regular scheduled program of who is better, LeBron or Kobe or LeBron or MJ, or why did he make this decision and that decision, and basically help people understand that how these things behind me actually set up these actual athletes long term, and a lot of times not in their best interest. You talk about decisions that are being made on their behalf. You know, there's not a skills and drills, 7-on-7, showcase, tournament, anything that deals with or can actually assess or actually protect these actual athletes when they end up in a certain world of people that literally are using them for their best interests and their best interests alone, not necessarily the athlete or the family. I can't tell you enough where draft classes year in and year out where, you know, kids and parents have spent lots of money, where I see camps and programs charging $225 for a training session and things of that nature. And parents are spending it, and they're going to camps all over the country, and they're spending their hard-earned money to one day hopefully get their son or their daughter to a professional level. And once they get there, the kid not understanding how the business actually works, the decisions that they made pertaining to business, how they actually are funding or taking care of other people's families and making sure they're all right without actually taking care of their own. And if you really think about it, within 2 to 3 years later, they're right back to where they started, relying on that same family. However, when that time came when that family hoped that their investment in that actual athlete would pay off, it didn't necessarily do so. And then you have such things as mental health disorder, depression, worry, talking about trauma, transition back into society. Again, many athletes have been suicidal because they no longer hear the cheers or basically are the preferred option for these exact teams or in relationship with girlfriends. So at the end of the day, there's a lot of things that go into this that literally for years have not been addressed. So what I want to do today is to share some things with you guys regarding some of the things in business to understand and teach you some of the ways that how when you're trying to get to a certain level, a certain way, that these things continue to come up. So if you bear with me, so we're going to talk about what actually just happened in the NCAA pertaining to these athletes regarding their actual the Seventh Circuit regarding athletes in a new transition rule, or transfer rule, but at the same time, these kids actually now have to essentially sit out a year regardless. Now, once again, we talk about how this thing actually works and why it works the way it works. I say that, you know, if I'm an athlete and I know my actual time frame is basically I have a certain amount of time to play a sport, and essentially once I play that sport, if I'm not healthy, if I get too old, that the school, the coach is going to look to replace me as soon as possible. So it's very unfortunate that this actual ruling has taken place, but I'm going to read what I've actually said and what we talked about pertaining to the NCAA Seventh Circuit side of the NCAA. And it's also determined as the residence rule. So once I'm teaching you guys about what's going on in today's society pertaining to the actual athlete. So pre-post game perspective, players' perspective, we strongly disagree. You have a system built off their physical attributes that include age, health, or restrict their opportunity. The NCAA would cease to exist without them. However, it isn't a shock that those whose best interests are represented have difficulty getting their needs and their wants met. When every rule created and implemented was done so, without the input or the counsel of the talent and their families, this will be the result. The athlete has never had proper representation at the youth or collegiate level. The athlete will be a great talent with or without the NCAA structure. NCAA will cease to exist without the athlete. It's not a good look when adults take advantage of minors and their families' economic and social status to make billions off their circumstance. So once again, that was my response pertaining to that. So as of yesterday, like I said, going into October 15th, the players no longer have to get permission from the school to transfer. However, even though they don't have to get permission to transfer, there's a lot of things nuance-wise that goes into it when we talk about the NCAA or the school, university that you just had can take your scholarship, and then now you might not be eligible to go play elsewhere. So again, there's a lot of things you need to understand. So for more information, to get consulting and figure out what's best for you, you can check us out and call or go to www.prepostgame.com. Secondarily speaking, again, so you're talking about as an athlete when I'm no longer the preferred option, I want to transfer. How does that affect my psyche? Am I as confident as I was when I went from one location to the next? When I was 4-star, 5-star, and I got to the university, and that coach now recognized that the coach that recruited me is no longer there. is the upcoming coach now going to support me the same exact way, make me feel confident in myself as an actual athlete? Or is he going to tell me I wasn't good as I thought I was and literally now proceed to try to move me on? And a lot of times when it comes to these actual coaches in schools, it's a tactic that's used. So when a university fires a coach and moves on for a coach, that recruiting class that was there, they'll have that actual leeway to say, well, these weren't my guys. So essentially you're turning human beings into commodities, into trash. And basically you're saying that, oh, I didn't recruit these guys, so they're not any good. And I'm going to go out my way to make sure to show that they're not good, to give me a longer time to be able to get the guys that I want to move forward from there. These are things that create extreme trauma when it comes to the actual athlete that sometimes he cannot recuperate from when he goes to his next location. So once again, understanding these things, self-aware, your self-worth, understanding the business of the sport you want to help you go through those things in a better area where you won't get caught in these situations. So again, I want to share this. Talking about today is all about education. So a quote, an athlete's psyche is easily misunderstood and damaged when forged by the institution rather than evolution and self-worth pre-post sport. Again, that's written by me and my company, Friends for Good Health, as a national sports chairman. Once again, as an athlete, you know, when I go somewhere and again, I don't believe in myself and someone else tells me that I'm good or I'm not good, and that's how I actually really feel about myself, I'm not going to grow. I'm going to be stagnant. I'm going to stay right where I'm at. I'm not going to be able to obtain the actual true success that I can get on and off the field based off of my psyche. The psyche that's really fragile when you're talking about kids, 15, 16, 17 years old. And even earlier now when it comes to the youth sports level, where at 9 years old you have grown men that are yelling at kids and trying to live through these actual kids vicariously through saying like, hey, I helped you get to this point A, B, and C. Once again, disregarding the fact that the athlete's mind and his heart is being developed. And again, at the end of the day, his self-worth is something that his actual structure is not basically nurturing who they are personally, but more so what you're trying to do in the actual institution setting. So understanding all these things, again, is very important as a parent. So when you basically allow or basically have your child interact with adults in the sports business, no matter what level, and you have to understand that when I say start with the end in mind. Understand before you put money into certain sports, to certain activities, that what you're getting out of that. Have that actual coach, that actual league explain to you what your dollars are going to get you. Have a conversation with your son or daughter and explain that what we're trying to do in this actual certain situation to get you from point A to B. You don't want to spend an enormous amount of money doing something and then find out that the thing that you put money into as a result in any type of success. And once again, he say, she say in 2018 is so dangerous. You have to set a plan and result. So once again, if you're paying a speed coach, if you will, you need to understand when this coach actually takes on your child, you need to find out what your actual child runs and whatever they training for in that first place, and then actually track that. So give us a certain time frame. So, okay, coach, my daughter runs a 13.5 in the 100. I'm going to spend a month of her training with you. And by the time this end of this month, I need to see her down to at least 11 point something. And then again, you set that standard. The coach should be able to tell you, I can do that or I can't do that before you train. You pay your money to that actual coach. Because once again, what will happen is it'll be all types of excuses fed back to you. Well, kid doesn't work hard enough. Kid didn't do this. The kid didn't do that. Once again, if that's the case, and that may be the case at times, then you need to not spend your money and give your money to someone who can't get the result that you desire. So again, talking about this education piece. So what we're going to do next is talk about another part of the education piece. So I'm going to pull up, again, as an athlete, you try to evaluate yourself and what you're trying to do and how you're trying to do it, and look at certain things that you got to understand. Again, one of the things we talk about is knowing your actual sport. Knowing your sport is very, very important in the world today. Understanding what you're putting money into, what the results going to be, as I said before. Set expectations, start with the end in mind. Again, break it down. What are your responsibilities? What are my responsibilities? What is the parent responsibilities? What is the school? What is the trainer? What is the actual league responsibilities in regarding that? But once again, you got to proceed with caution. There's a lot of people, again, and I find myself going through this regularly in my own business, where we have a structure here in pre-posting that was created to actually work on behalf of the player and the player's best interest alone. And because of that, you're not going to find many people that support that actual scenario, because once again, we understand in sports that, particularly when it comes to the athlete and revenue streaming, is that athlete is essentially the reason why all these other entities, including mine, has business and a job. And when these actual athletes understand their net worth and their value, they now can make informed business decisions that a lot of people in this industry do not like. Why? Because if you don't have the need for them, then they can't basically make a living, take care of their kids off of what you do. So once again, that's what our job is. That's what our business is, to teach you all the things you need to do to make sure you can go to point A, B, C, and so forth without having the hiccups that a lot of times these kids at every level have. So as you see it here, you see the college recruitment process, understanding what a scholarship is, facts versus the myths on ins and outs, dressing for success, projecting the right image. Once again, talking about free education. However, at the end of the day, when you leave an actual school setting, can you get a job looking how you did when you was in college? Or do they allow you to do that when you actually was making money for them playing a sport? One of my biggest pet peeves right now is watching these young men on Snapchat or Instagram Live when they're driving their cars and they're basically singing into the actual video. Many parents, and I don't know why the coaches of university school have not talked about how this is no different than actually drinking and driving, no different than actually texting and driving. If you're driving a vehicle as you sing into the actual video on your phone, you can't watch the road and see what's there. But if you hit somebody, your career in essence is going to be over. So once again, it's little things like that when we talk about character development. When you, as a parent, have your kid go to an institution of higher learning, then what is actually going on? Are they actually addressing those things, or are they more concerned about what your son is doing on the field so their check will come on Tuesday? I think we all know the answer to that is why we're here as pre-posting right now. And one of the things I talk about all the time is, again, beware of stage relationships, where these people come from and how they come from and what they're trying to pose as a mentor. Understanding the difference between a mentor and a runner. Oh, again, I'm gonna mentor you and do this and do that. But the only time that mentor's around is when you're actually at a athletic event, and then they want to take pictures with you. Then they want to speak on your behalf to other coaches. However, are they doing things that we're doing right now, talking about character development? Are they providing certain criteria and certain type of curriculum, educationally speaking, or development speaking, or how to be a man, how to conduct yourself, how to speak? All these different things that actually matter most when the sport's no longer there, hence pre-post game. When it comes and when it ends, you never know, but you need to be prepared for success after that and when you go what you got to do. And at the bottom, you see the two most important things, the character development and maximize your opportunity. They're one and the same. They go hand in hand. So once again, if my goal is to become a successful professional athlete, take care of my family, as I said, start with the end in mind, then I need to understand what I need to do from point A, B, and C early on. Not try to turn it on when people are watching, but again, you're going to basically be identify or recognize who you are when no one else is watching. So you need to basically practice that and learn how to do that. Again, we also help you do that, teach you how to do that from here. So again, as an African-American athlete talk show host, a lot of time we hear things about what happened in the past with certain athletes. And when we talk about history, like I said, if you fail to learn from history, you're doomed to repeat yourself. When it comes to athletes, we talk about, focus on the game, trust the process, God's plan. Those type of thought processes have never been basically something that's actually going to move an athlete forward when the game is over. Once again, the trauma, the psychological, the emotions, such things as, like I said, from the collegiate level. When you say as an athlete, if I'm going through something emotionally and I turn to drugs, where as a parent, you have now turned me over to a university that will say that I don't need to make you aware as a parent that my son is using drugs to after the third time. And then after that, they might have to seek some type of counseling after the fact. Addiction is a serious problem in America, not only with the opioid addiction, but years ago with crack cocaine. And then, as you see right now, a lot of times the term weed is being legalized all across the country. When you talk about kids and why they turn to certain things and certain vices to actually get away from their own reality of that bubble that they're in, a lot of that's based off of the people that's right around in the industry. I try to isolate myself from certain things by not allowing a lot of people, again, to attack my mental health, basically knowing what I'm trying to do to help the athlete and the family, but at the same time, not being worried or having grief or basically turning to drugs and allow my emotions to go up and down based off what someone else feels about who I am and what I am and what I'm trying to do to actually protect the actual athlete's best interest. So as we continue, again, sports is not a game, sports is all business. Recap, I'm Robert T. Green, the CEO of Pre-Post Game, also known as the Players Rep, here to educate, empower, protect the athlete and the family's best interest. Welcome to the African American Athlete Podcast, sponsored by AfricanAmericanAthlete.com, hosted by Mr. Ricky Hampton and Mr. Michael Robinson. Check them out every Tuesday at 10 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as they cover sports from the African American perspective in the past, the present, and obviously for the future. So, again, for more on me, you can follow me on the Players Rep on Players Rep 1 on Twitter, Players Rep 1 on Instagram, or on Facebook at the Players Rep. So as I continue to share, and I'm going to share and tie this in some of these other topics, pictures, understanding what's what. So once again, we talk about the athlete, we talk about the decision from the NCAA, we talk about fair and balanced, and again, we talk about a system that's been put together where you don't actually ask the actual parent, you don't actually want to ask the actual athlete what their needs or what their wants are, which essentially by not doing that, you now set them up for failure and basically put them in situations where a lot of things are going to be done that is not going to be in their best interest. That's not going to allow them to get to where they want to be. So we're talking about fair, impartial. We're talking about judge and balance. So this is right here is a balance. And so again, unbiased, fair-minded, nonpartisan, neutral, equitable. Both sides, it means equal, fair, just, balanced. When you talk about the NCAA structure as it's been consistent and currently known, none of these actual terms and actually go into what the actual athlete is looking for. And if you see all the way down here, I'll focus on this where we're at truth seeking. When you're recruiting a kid, you're talking about what you want the kid to do, what you want them to know. When that kid and that family has no idea what they need to ask you to basically put themselves in the best interest, nor you do not provide that actual information for them, which is why we are here at pre-post game. So understanding the sports business in 2018 as a whole, and again, to get away from the LeBron versus Michael and Kobe, you got to understand where this actual situation is derived from. The reality is the reason why you continue to argue about LeBron and Kobe or LeBron and MJ is because at the end of the day, people watch sports because they liked it, they feel like they can compete, but really don't understand the nuances that goes into the sport, the actual development of the sport. But most importantly, the people that actually, without them, the sport does not exist, the actual athlete. These people, these men, these women, they are human beings first and foremost. They have families, they have lives, they have wants, they have dreams. When everyone around them looks at them as a commodity, as someone that they actually can be easily replaced, and the structure and the system is set up that way to actually help them understand that they're going to be replaced, but they don't understand that when they're young. It actually sets them up for long-term failure in every which way under the sun. You have an actual business situation, a setting where actual athletes don't understand that, when you turn around and everything that you do needs to be vetted or needs to be reviewed by someone else that you can actually do yourself, you find yourself spending money on people that literally one day when you no longer have money, those people are going to be gone, and now you can't actually live your life the way you need to do. And I talk about these things and about how even these whole contract situations are set up if you watch our last podcast. And I'm about to show you something again to teach you an example when I talk about percentages and fees. And again, talking about athletes that have been to college for 3 to 4 years, and even the NCAA model says that, hey, if you look at the NBA, the NFL draft, it doesn't matter what draft it is. Rules are different for different sports, especially the generated revenue sports, specifically basketball and football. But the fact of the matter is, you have a system where I work for you and you're going to tell me, or I'm going to tell you what I'm going to pay you, doesn't make any sense. Corporate America doesn't work that way. But essentially, when you talk about athletes and percentage, when an agent, a sports agent tells an athlete, based off your draft stats, we're going to charge you 1%. Based off of this pick, we're going to charge you 2%. Based off this next pick, we're going to charge you 3%. Once again, athletes don't understand percentages. And 2, that can go up and down. And I'm going to show you this slide right now to give you an exact example of what really goes on in these areas to let you know that you got to actually understand the business you're in. Signing a contract that you don't understand is not something that we ever advise any athlete at any level to do for the family. But before I go to that next slide, I'm going to show you this as well. Just a cardboard. Like I said, again, throughout my years, I've had the pleasure to meet many coaches professionally in collegiate, college. And as I sit back and look at this board really quick, I realize at the end of the day, every one of these cards represent one person and their family. Because, again, they get paid to basically look out or try to find guys that at the end of the day are going to help take care of their families, pay their bills, send their kids to private school. At the end of the day, what would each one of these coaches for a desired kid do to get that actual athlete? And when they do what they got to do to get that actual athlete, what does that coach that didn't get the athlete do next? So once again, you talk about sports is not a game, it's all business. At the end of the day, it is a business. It's a competitive business. And the fact of the matter is that these guys can make decisions to do what they got to do is best for them at any time they feel like they choose. But the actual athlete who, without them, they wouldn't be in this actual profession, wouldn't be a coaching profession, they would not be around. So once again, that lets me know, once again, who's really in control here. It's the athlete and the family. But you have to understand that each one of these coaches, they would call you for any reason. You have to know what to ask them, when to ask them, how to understand, negotiate what's in your best interest so you don't end up as a statistic or a number. So following that up with this actual last piece I'm going to talk about, again, it's very important. If you take a look at this right now, what you have before you is a a person from the Big 12, Baker Mayfield, #1 pick overall. You have a person from the SEC, Minka Fitzpatrick of Alabama, who's now a 11th pick overall for the Miami Dolphins. And last but not least, you have Mr. Billy Price from Ohio State, who's also from the Big 10. What you see before you is the numbers 1, 11, and 21. So once again, you talk about percentage. When a kid who's a #1 pick overall has a lot of business responsibilities on and off the field, media obligations, public speaking requests, all types of things he's going to be presented with. Then you have the 11th pick overall. So as you go down, like I said, you have a little less business responsibility. Not to say you can't have as many, but a little less based on how things work. And then so forth. So as you go down to 21, it's even less. So you just look at this. So if I'm a sports agent, I came and told the kid, you know what, I'm going to make you feel good about yourself. So Baker Mayfield, if you work with us, you become the #1 pick overall, I'm only going to charge you 1%. So this year's salary based off of NFL, and again, for those you don't know, the top 19 salaries for the most part are fully guaranteed unless you do something that's extremely egregious to the actual NFL and to your actual team that you're actually playing for. So again, essentially over 4 years with a 50th team option, which again, Baker Mayfield falls under the current CBA from the NFL, he's going to get one. If I charge him 1%, that's $32,993,327. So essentially, 1% of that is paying that agent $329,933.27. So once again, okay, that's great. 1%. Thank you so much, Mr. Agent. But you go down to the 11th pick. But I'm going to tell you, like, if you fall outside the top 10, I'm going to do you a favor. I'm going to charge you 2%. Okay, 2%. That means, again, thank you for not charging me 3%. But as you go further down, you see, again, 11th pick overall, which, again, your money is less than what it is. So, again, Minka Fitzpatrick is 11th pick. He gets $16,590,408. But essentially, 2% of that equals to $331,000. So essentially, who just made more money, Baker Mayfield or Minka Fitzpatrick? It's Baker Mayfield. However, Minka Fitzpatrick is paying more money. He has less responsibility. He has less revenue coming in, and it goes from there. And then last but not least, okay, so again, Mr. Price, you're the 21st pick overall. You have your offensive lineman. But you know what? You didn't fall into the top, whatever. So I'm going to charge you 3% because that's what we do. That's standard operation procedure. I'm here to tell you it's not standard because each one of these kids, without them, then again, these guys would have been drafted where they were with or without that actual desired agency they ended up signing. So 3%, $354,186.33. So once again, while we talk about percentage and athletes don't understand. Now, these guys have went to college, free education. Free education teaches you that the more value that I have, the more work that I have, that I should pay more to someone else for something that they didn't do. Once again, the #1 pick in the draft. And this is how it goes. Not to mention that you're going to use these guys' names to solicit the next group of kids. So again, if I get the #1 pick overall, I'm going to go tell another kid, well, I got the #1 pick overall. So again, 1% of that actual $32 million is what it is. But once again, he has a lot more responsibilities. But it's a shame that, again, as you go further down, that the people that are getting drafted lower are paying more money than the guys that got drafted higher. That's not good business. So once again, I want to leave you with that to help you guys understand that sports is not a game. Sports is all business. My name is Robert T. Green. I'm the CEO of Pre-Post Game. And to educate and empower, protect the athlete's best interest in theirs alone. You can check us out at prepostgame.com and ensure that you're responsible, respected, and remembered. You guys have a blessed day.